The Irish summer does not simply arrive. It unfurls, slow and honeyed, like breath over bare skin. The air ripples with warmth, carrying the scent of meadows that sway beneath skies painted in endless blue. The hills hum with life, each blade of grass whispering secrets to the wind, each river glimmering with a pulse older than memory. The earth seems to sigh, stretching in pleasure beneath the golden hand of the sun. It is in this tender expanse that her presence lingers, unseen yet deeply felt. Ion, goddess of love and sunlight, the pulse behind every shimmer, every spark, every soft touch between warmth and skin. She does not descend from the heavens, she rises from the land itself. From the heart of each golden field, from the laughter of lakes, from the quiet surrender of the sky to the evening glow. To speak her name is to summon the sensation of light brushing the face after a long night. A warmth that melts thought, leaving only desire, only the certainty of being alive beneath her gaze. The people of the hills know her not as a distant deity, but as a living rhythm. They call her in harvest songs, in the whispers of lovers lying beneath the summer moon. Ion of the gentle fire, Ion who dances with the sun. Each year, when the world ripens under her touch, she awakens from the slumber of spring's shadow. Her steps are soft, yet the land blooms at her passing. Flowers unfurl as if sighing in relief. Rivers catch her reflection and shimmer brighter. She is not merely light, she is its heart. Her hair lifts through the air like chimes, and with each note desire stirs in all things that breathe. Men feel it in their chests, women in their hearts, animals in their restless movement. Even the trees lean toward her, their leaves trembling to drink her warmth. Yet there is something untamed about her beauty. She is not the gentle warmth of dawn, but the fierce shimmer of midday, radiant, consuming, alive with wild promise. Her hair, spun gold, falls over her shoulders like sunlight through branches. Her eyes hold the horizon, not blue, not green, but that impossible hue where sky meets sea. Her skin glows faintly, as though the sun has marked her as its own. When she walks, the world bends subtly toward her, craving her presence as the tide craves the moon. And for all her beauty, there is a loneliness beneath the radiance. The mortals who sing of her do not see it, but the winds do. They have carried her sighs across the centuries. She is love eternal, yes, but eternal love is a cage of gold. The seasons move, the hearts she touches fade. Each summer she awakens to love again, and each autumn she must let go. The sun may be her companion, but even he drifts away when the days grow short. What warmth remains belongs to memory, not touch. There are tales of a hill that glows brighter than all others on the solstice. They say Ina rests there, half spirit, half flame, her laughter mingling with the hum of bees and the rustle of grain. On that night, mortals claim to see her dancing barefoot among the flowers, her body wrapped in light, her hair a river of fire. Some say she calls them to her, though whether in love or in warning, no one can tell. Those who have followed her dance speak of joy so deep it hurts, of warmth that seeps into their bones and never quite leaves. Some never return, lost perhaps in the folds of her light, consumed by a love no mortal can bear. Aina's world is not one of clear boundaries. The air around her hums with sacred tension, where every breath feels like both prayer and temptation. She moves through the fields as a lover might across a sleeping body, slow, deliberate, adoring. When the wind grazes the skin, it carries her touch. When the sunlight lingers too long on a face, it is her gaze. The bees that wander from bloom to bloom are her messengers, whispering the same secret. Love is fleeting, but its flame leaves marks even the rain cannot wash away. There are days when she lingers by the lake's edge, her reflection trembling on the water. She studies her image, searching perhaps for something mortal within it. For though she is endless, there is sadness in being eternal. To feel love only to lose it again and again, as the wheel of the year turns without mercy. Aina knows that beauty fades in the hearts of those who age, yet she gives her warmth freely, without restraint. To her, love is not a possession, but an offering, a brief alignment between fire and flesh. Still, in the quiet hours, when the sun dips low and her golden glow softens, she feels the hollow ache of wanting what she can never keep. The touch of someone who would see her not as goddess, but as woman. Sometimes, in the hush between twilight and night, she walks among mortals unseen. She listens to their laughter, their songs, their sighs. She watches lovers intertwine beneath the open sky, and for a fleeting moment, she feels envy. For them, love burns once and leaves ashes. For her, it burns forever, leaving her untouched, yet endlessly longing. In that contradiction lies her divinity and her curse. The land itself is her companion. The hills breathe with her. The rivers murmur her name. When rain falls softly in midsummer, the people say it is Ani weeping. Tears of joy or sorrow none can tell. When lightning flashes across the horizon, they whisper that it is her passion made visible, her wild heart breaking the calm of heaven. Children leave wreaths of clover and rose on their windowsills to invite her blessing. Lovers light fires on the hills, hoping she will glance their way and make their union burn brighter. Every whispered prayer is a thread woven into her myth, an attempt to capture a fragment of her warmth before it slips back into the realm of gods. But the truth of Ani is more intimate than legend tells. She is not just the light that touches the world, she is the feeling that stirs within when that light meets the skin, that slow awakening, that quiet surrender. She lives in the space between longing and fulfillment, where pleasure and melancholy kiss. She is every heartbeat that quickens in the sun's embrace, every sigh that escapes when the day begins to fade. To feel summer's heat on one's face is to feel her pulse. There is an old saying whispered in County Limerick: "The heart remembers what the sun forgets." It is said to be her blessing or her curse. Those who have truly felt her presence carry that memory forever, even through the cold of winter. They remember the light that once kissed them, the warmth that reached deep enough to awaken something that cannot be named. And though seasons pass and years fall away, they will always ache for that golden moment when the world felt alive, when love seemed endless, when Ani's laughter was still upon the wind. So begins her myth, not with thunder or creation, but with warmth, with the quiet, steady breath of the world in bloom, and the promise of a goddess whose love is both gift and wound. She is the shimmer at the edge of vision, the pulse beneath the soil, the sweetness that clings to the tongue after sunlight. To know her is to understand that all beauty carries sorrow, that even the sun must set, that love, no matter how divine, must one day burn itself into memory. And yet, when the golden hour returns, when the sky bleeds honey and the fields tremble in the evening glow, she rises again. Her laughter returns to the wind, her light spills across the earth, and every heart that feels her touch awakens once more to the ancient truth that passion, though fleeting, is sacred. Ani does not ask to be worshipped, she asks only to be felt. And in that feeling, the world remembers her, radiant, untamed, and eternal. He first saw her when the light changed. It was midsummer, that hour when the sun softens but refuses to fade, when the world glows as if seen through honey. The fields breathed warmth, and he walked among them, chasing the hum of the wind. His name is forgotten, but the story remembers his gaze, steady, human, and undone the moment it met hers. Ain stood by the lake's edge, barefoot, her reflection trembling in the ripples. The air shimmered as though the sun itself bent to follow her. She did not move at first. She only looked toward him, her eyes filled with something unnameable, a light both tender and dangerous. He should have turned away. Every tale in the village warned of her, the woman of golden hair who could love a man into madness. Yet he stayed, held by her stillness, as if caught in the pull of a tide. She smiled, and the fields seemed to breathe. Her voice was softer than wind, yet it filled the space between them. "You walk in my warmth. Do you thank the sun when it touches you?" He tried to answer, but words fled. She stepped closer. The scent of summer deepened, wildflowers, dew, and something faintly electric. Her skin glowed faintly, as if made of sunlight rather than flesh. Still, there was something deeply human in her gaze, curious, cautious, lonely. Ain had seen countless faces, countless hearts rise and fade like seasons. Yet something in this mortal made her linger. Perhaps it was the way he looked at her, not with worship, but wonder. Perhaps it was his warmth, fragile yet alive in a way no god could ever be. She felt it at once, the ache of wanting what she was forbidden to keep. He bowed his head. He murmured, "I have heard your name, but I thought you were only a story told to keep men dreaming." Her smile curved bittersweet. Then you should keep dreaming, she said. Dreams are gentler than truth. But truth had already claimed him. The sun dipped low, spilling amber light across her hair. She seemed woven from the same fire that warmed the world. He felt small beside her, and yet impossibly seen. She watched him with quiet fascination, as though studying a creature that burned for only an instant, yet dared to love the light.
When she spoke again, her tones softened. "You mortals," she whispered, "you live so briefly, but you love as if the world were endless. How do you bear the ending?" He looked at her trembling. "By pretending it will never come." Her laughter rang through the air, warm and aching. It wrapped around him with tenderness that burned. That moment marked their beginning, not a promise, not a choice, but surrender. The goddess of sunlight had met a man unafraid of her glow. In the nights that followed, Ain wandered the fields to find him. He would leave the village when the world turned gold and wait by the lake. She always came, sometimes like dawn, gentle, brushing the horizon of his senses before appearing, other times like a storm, sudden, breathless, irresistible. Their meetings were simple at first, words, laughter, the rhythm of their steps beside the water. She asked him about mortal things, soil between fingers, the taste of fruit, fire in winter. He spoke shyly, unaware of how his small joys fed her endless hunger to feel. To Ain, each human detail was sacred, a spark of warmth gods could never hold. She told him stories of light, how it dances on the sea, how it kisses the horizon before dying each night, how it returns though nothing promises it will. He listened as if every word were a secret. When she laughed, the air shimmered. When she sighed, the grass bowed. Yet beneath their gentle exchanges ran a current, desire unspoken, impossible to name. Sometimes her hand brushed his, and the world seemed to pause. He met her gaze and felt the distance between divinity and flesh collapsing into silence. Her light did not blind, it invited. Though fear flickered behind his fascination, he stayed. Ain, who had watched centuries of hearts rise and fall, found herself caught by one that dared to beat so close to her own. She began to wait for him. Her mornings burned as usual, but her thoughts lingered on dusk, the hour when his shadow reached toward the lake. She always told herself it was curiosity, but she knew it was longing. He too felt the change. The more he saw her, the less the world seemed solid. Colors deepened, sounds thickened, as though he were living inside her glow. He dreamed of her standing in his doorway, sunlight dripping from her hair, her eyes heavy with sadness, too beautiful to bear. When he woke, his skin still burned with her warmth.
Their love began in glances, grew in silence, flowered in the space between words. She touched him like one might touch a flame, knowing it would hurt, yet unable to resist. And he, trembling, touched her back. It was not boldness, but surrender. the belief that even a mortal could hold the light, if only for a heartbeat. But Ain was no gentle muse. Her light was a blessing and a curse. The closer he came, the more it consumed him, soft at first, then searing. His dreams filled with gold, his pulse quickened with each dawn. Desire became ache, awe became hunger. He longed not only for her presence, but for her touch, a touch that could unmake him. She felt it too. Each time his breath trembled near hers, something ancient inside her stirred. Gods are meant to love the world, not a single soul. Yet she craved his humanity, his fragility, his fear, the way he looked at her as if she were both salvation and storm. She wondered what it would mean to love him as he did her, fiercely, foolishly, without thought of eternity. One evening, when the sun melted into the horizon and their shadows entwined, she reached for him. Her fingers hovered above his cheek, the air trembling. "If I touch you, you may never see the world the same again." He closed his eyes. "Then let me see it once as you do." For a heartbeat she hesitated, torn between divine restraint and the ache that had grown too heavy to bear. Her light dimmed, gentled, and she touched him. It was not a kiss, but something deeper, the merging of warmth and breath, the meeting of two beings on opposite ends of forever. He felt the world ignite, the grass shimmered, the air swelled with gold, and for that instant he understood eternity. She, in turn, felt time rush through her like a river breaking its banks, fierce, unstoppable, and sweet. When they parted, the lake mirrored their faces, hers luminous, his trembling. The distance between goddess and mortal remained, yet something unseen had bridged it. That night, Ain did not return to the sky. She lingered on the earth, watching the village lights flicker in the dark. For the first time in centuries, she envied fire, how it could burn, consume, and end. For gods, there is no ending, only the long ache of memory. But as she watched him fade into the night, she felt a fragile pulse deep within her, human, defiant, and alive. And though she did not yet speak its name, Ain knew that what had begun as curiosity had become something far more dangerous: love. He no longer remembered the world without her light. The fields, the wind, even the passing hours existed only to echo her presence. Each dawn was unbearable, each dusk a fevered prayer for her return. Wonder had turned to hunger, not of flesh alone, but of spirit. He no longer feared her divinity. He feared the emptiness that followed when she was gone. Each evening she came with the fading sun, her warmth sliding through the air before her form appeared. The moment before she spoke was torment, a single breath between heaven and despair. She saw it in him. The glow in his eyes had deepened into need. He no longer simply loved her, he depended on her. And though Aina was moved by his devotion, she knew it was dangerous. Mortals who loved gods too deeply burned from within. That night she watched him from across the water. The moon silvered his skin. He waited, patient yet trembling.
Aine hesitated. She had promised herself not to come, to let him forget her warmth, but the longing within her had grown unbearable. She stepped onto the lake, her feet leaving ripples of light. He rose when he saw her, joy breaking across his face like dawn. He said, "I thought you would not come." She whispered, "I should not have. Every time I return, I take more of you." He said, "Then take all. You are the only light I see." Her heart faltered. The words should have pleased her, yet they felt heavy, like chains made of tenderness. The goddess of summer had never known the weight of being needed. In the days that followed, his yearning grew. He began to see her in every flicker of sunlight, every shimmer of dew. He stopped tending his fields. The crops withered. He no longer spoke to the villagers, who whispered that Aine had stolen his mind. But he cared for none of it. The world without her was gray, unbreathing. He began to climb the hills at noon, calling her name to the burning sky. She could hear him. Gods always hear the voices of those who love them, but she could not answer. The laws of the seasons held her. She belonged to the rhythm of the sun. Yet his voice pierced her restraint like thorns through silk.
Ane's light faltered. For the first time, her radiance dimmed. He noticed. "You look tired," he said. "The sun tires of shining," she murmured. He traced her cheek. "Then let me hold the light for you." It was a mortal's promise, beautiful, foolish. To hold the light was to burn. To love a goddess was to lose everything human. Still, she let him touch her. Their warmth merged until boundaries blurred. The lake shimmered gold beneath them, time itself pausing in reverence. When they parted, she could no longer breathe without him in her thoughts. Yet she was losing balance. Her power, tied to summer, began to waver. The days shortened too soon. The winds cooled before their time. The spirits of the land whispered, "Ane has given her heart to a mortal." Even the sea sighed in warning. "You are the heat of the world. If you love him too deeply, winter will come early." But Ane could not turn away. Desire once tender had become a wound. She told herself love and duty could coexist, yet each night when she left him, her own light felt like fire beneath her skin. He sensed her struggle. The more she withdrew, the more he clung. He spoke of running away, of finding a place beyond gods and seasons. "I would follow you beyond the horizon," he said. "If I die, let it be beneath your light." "Do not speak of death," she said sharply. "You do not know what it means to be loved by something that cannot die." "But you do," he whispered. "That is why you are afraid." She turned away. "I fear what love makes of you and what it unravels in me." Her words haunted her. The balance between divinity and desire collapsed. She found herself jealous of the world that held him when she could not. When he smiled at another, her light flickered dark. It was not in her nature to envy, yet she did.
One evening, when he failed to appear at the lake, emptiness struck like pain. She searched until she found him asleep beneath a tree, another woman's shawl over his shoulders. It meant nothing, she knew, yet the sight wounded her.
For the first time, her warmth turned cold. She watched him from afar, her eyes unreadable. The air around her grew still, even the crickets fell silent. When he stirred and saw her, he froze. Ein? What's wrong? Nothing, she said, though her voice carried centuries. Only that I begin to understand your kind. He reached for her, but she stepped back, the light flickering. You forget, she said, that I am the season itself. I cannot stay where the sun does not rise, and you are the evening that follows me. He tried to speak, but the air thickened, heavy with sorrow. She wanted to forgive, to forget the jealousy that had burned through her restraint. But love, once pure, had turned volatile. Her touch now carried more heat than tenderness. Still, he did not retreat. He knelt before her, eyes full of devotion. If you must burn me, then let it be by your hand. I would rather turn to ash in your arms than live untouched by your fire. Her tears fell, scattering into sparks. Do not tempt the sun, she whispered. Even love cannot survive its full light. That night, when she vanished into mist, the land shuddered. The first cool winds of autumn crept into the valleys. Leaves paled at their edges. Ein, goddess of summer, felt her strength wane with every breath away from him. In her heart, she knew the truth. Her love was bound to the rhythm of the world. It could only bloom when the earth was warm. When the season turned, she would fade, leaving him with nothing but memory, a memory bright enough to burn through the cold. Yet she could not stop returning. Love had become her curse and her defiance. Each meeting left her weaker, each embrace a thread pulling her closer to ruin. Still, she came because the warmth she gave him was the only warmth she could feel herself. The sun watched its goddess with sorrow, knowing it would soon have to take her back to reclaim what she had given away. But for now, the world remained suspended in a feverish golden dusk, the season of Ein's desire, the fragile eternity between love and loss. And beneath that shimmering sky, the mortal who loved her stood waiting, knowing that what he desired most might also be what destroyed him. The night waited like a patient breath, a shadowed canvas painted with the last warmth of summer. The air shimmered with anticipation, carrying the perfume of wildflowers, dew, and life too full to sleep. He stood at the lake's edge, water catching the fading sun in molten gold, his pulse echoing the soft stir of the world. And she came, as always, but tonight her light was different, softer, intimate, tinged with inevitable sorrow. Ain emerged from the ripples, bare and luminous, each step sending golden waves across the water. He held his breath. He had never seen her so still, so fully present, as if the world itself drew back to watch them alone. Her eyes, windows to the horizon, rested on him with a gaze that demanded and surrendered. The sun lingered on the horizon, hesitant to set while its chosen flame trembled on the verge of temptation. She moved toward him slowly, and the air thickened, each heartbeat a drumbeat in the quiet night. He reached for her, and the touch of his hand against hers sent a shiver through both, mortal and goddess, warmth and radiance, human longing meeting the infinite. She leaned into him, letting the familiar fire of her presence merge with his fragile pulse. The lake reflected their union, shimmering gold as the first star trembled above. Their lips met, tentative at first, testing the boundary between human and divine. Then the kiss deepened, a slow burn that spread through their bodies, fusing breath, flesh, and light. Her hands traced his chest, mapping the contours of mortality with awe. He pressed into her, desperate to memorize the softness of light, the curve of gold, the trembling warmth belonging to both flesh and sun. Ain's surrender was rare, a breaking of divine restraint pulsing with danger. Her fingers threaded through his hair, her body pressing against him as though to claim him wholly, imprinting upon him the eternal flame she carried. Her skin radiated heat, not merely the sun's warmth, but the ache of centuries, the yearning mortals could never fully understand. She gave herself without reserve, every motion promise and warning, a kiss that burned and soothed at once.
He felt eternity in her touch, sweetness tinged with sorrow. Each movement fused sun and flesh, desire and regret, joy and ache. Time slowed. Even the wind seemed to pause, holding its breath while mortal and goddess entwined beneath the sky. Every sigh, shiver, and tremble of skin became a note in a song only they could hear. The song of longing made real, warmth made eternal, love made dangerous by its perfection. Her lips left his in a whisper, trailing across his neck and collarbone, leaving embers. He shivered, wanting more, and she responded, her golden hair cascading over him like sunlight spilling over hills. Their bodies moved with the rhythm of summer itself, slow, deep, insistent, a tide rising and falling across the lake of desire. Beneath the intoxication, there was a subtle ache. On could not linger forever. The season would end, and the world would reclaim its order. Each touch carried the weight of impermanence. The mortal felt it, tasting eternity in a single night. He clung to her, desperate to trap the fleeting radiance in human flesh. Night deepened, shadows mingling with golden light, and still they pressed together, lost in the intoxication of being fully known. On's hands traced the line of his jaw, the strength of his shoulders, the trembling of his heart beneath her gaze. He mirrored her movements, memorizing divinity against his skin, the weight of light that embraced and threatened to consume him. Their union defied order, a collision of mortality and eternity. Stars shivered above, the moon holding its breath as passion ignited a heat that spread across the land. Each heartbeat, each whisper, pushed them further into forbidden realms. The mortal felt his soul tremble under her radiance. On felt desire that no season could satisfy. At the peak, they paused in each other's arms, breathing heavily, hearts in sync. He looked into her eyes, seeing her brilliance, her infinite light. She looked back, and for one fleeting moment, the gulf between mortal and goddess vanished. They were two souls entwined, human and divine, fire and shadow.
The lake mirrored their forms, the world pulsing with the echo of union. The balance was fragile. Ayin felt the subtle trembling beneath her skin, the waning intensity of her light, the first hints of the sun's heat faltering as dawn approached. Desire had peaked, and with it the cost of defiance became clear. He kissed her again, slow and reverent, desperate to capture every flicker of brilliance. She responded with equal fervor, every touch confession, every sigh prayer. They gave themselves fully, knowing the night would not last, that morning would bring harsh inevitability. Yet in that darkness there was no fear, only exquisite surrender, love that consumed and uplifted, that fulfilled human longing while teetering on divine law. Finally, entwined beneath stars, he traced her shoulder, memorizing the warmth that belonged neither to earth nor sky. Ayin rested against him, tasting mortality with every breath. Melancholy threaded the perfection of the moment, an ache that deepened and illuminated their union. She whispered his name, carrying across the hills like sunlight. "Remember this," she said softly, "for it cannot last. What we share is both gift and warning." He pressed his forehead to hers, swallowing the sorrow in her words. "I do not care for endings. I only care for this, for you, for now."
She believed him in that instant, in the fevered pulse of joined warmth. For a night, sun and flesh were one, mortal and divine, entwined in fragile eternity. But dawn arrived. Its light was softer now, hesitant, as if even the world mourned the passing of their union. A yin rose with the first golden rays, the mortal clutching the memory of her warmth, body aching with satisfaction and loss. She felt the pull of her nature, the rhythm of summer calling her back.
They kissed once more, savoring the taste of love that had been both rebellion and fulfillment. Then she stepped away, her light retreating, leaving only faint warmth lingering on his skin, a promise of what had been. He reached for her, but the world reclaimed its order. Ein's gaze lingered, sorrow and longing mingling with golden brilliance. Remember me in the sun. Remember the fire we shared, she whispered. As morning stretched across the hills, he stood alone, carrying the intoxicating echo of her warmth. Every heartbeat recalled her touch, every sunbeam mirrored her presence. Desire had burned fully, leaving both altered. A love impossible to forget, a night impossible to recapture. The lake shimmered with memory. The winds carried golden hair and wildflowers, and the fields hummed with tension of what had passed. Summer's heat waned. The season's cycle reminded Ein of her limits, yet she had given all she could. He would remember her in every shimmer of sunlight, every breath of wind, every trembling ache. She would remember him in every sigh of the world, in every golden ray lingering at the horizon. Their union broke the balance, yet fulfilled a longing neither mortal nor divine could deny. Love, in its most intoxicating form, had been lived and lost in a single night. Beauty tinged with sorrow, desire edged with heartbreak, a fire burned too brightly to last. And so the dawn carried its warning. The sun would rise again, but nothing would return exactly as it had been. The mortal and the goddess had fused, if only for a fleeting moment, in a passion that would haunt both for all the days of summer to come.
Morning arrived with quiet inevitability. Light spread across the fields, soft and golden, tempered by the first breath of autumn's coolness. Summer was ending, and with it the presence of the goddess who had lingered too long in the mortal world. He rose slowly, wrapped in the remnants of warmth that had once been hers. His skin burned faintly with memory, every sense alive with the echo of her touch, the pressure of her hand against his chest, the curve of her lips, the trembling fire that had passed between them. He moved through the fields as though in a dream, each step echoing in the silence. The golden grass swayed, no longer shimmering with summer's reckless heat, but bending to the early wind. He saw the lake where she had appeared, the water now calm, reflective, mourning her absence. Sunlight danced across its surface, pale imitation of her radiance, a reminder that divine warmth would not remain.
Ain watched him from the horizon, luminous against the rising sun. She stood poised where sky met land, hair flowing with the breeze, eyes soft yet heavy with sorrow. She did not speak. There were no words to bridge the gap between mortal and goddess. Her touch, once tangible, was now memory, carried in the wind, etched in his skin. She raised her hands slightly, and sunlight gathered around her, a final gift he could not claim. He reached out instinctively, but the space between them was sacred. His lips parted in silent plea. She only nodded once, tender and inevitable. The warmth she had left clung to him still, and he pressed his hand to his chest as if holding it could replace the living light that had inhabited his nights and days. Ain began to ascend slowly, her form rising with the sun, air shimmering with every heartbeat. With each movement, the fields changed, gold fading to amber, the first cool breeze brushing through the grass. Birds lifted from their nests, calls distant and hollow, echoing the emptiness left in her wake. The lake shimmered one last time before settling into quiet rhythm. He stumbled forward, powerless, aware that no step could bring her closer. Fingers brushed the air where she had been, grasping only sunlight and shadow. Memories surged, her scent mingled with wildflowers, the heat of her body, the taste of breath mingled with summer itself. Every sense ached with loss, every heartbeat a reminder that her love, though given fully, could not remain.
The world mirrored the separation. Leaves trembled, soil seemed to sigh. Even the wind carried tangible sorrow. Summer's lushness faded, replaced by a quiet elegance, mournful grace that spoke of cycles and endings. He understood, with clarity sharpened by grief, that her departure was not cruelty, but necessity. She belonged to the sun, to the pulse of the season, to a rhythm mortals could never own. As Ain rose higher, the mortal fell to his knees at the lake's edge. His lips whispered her name over and over, a prayer to the sun, a plea for her to linger. She continued to ascend, light spilling from her like molten gold, until she became part of the horizon itself, a radiant edge against the awakening sky. Even in leaving, she radiated love, eternal, impossible to contain, yet gifted in the briefest hours of summer. He remained long after she vanished, pressed to the earth, skin warm with her echo. The world adjusted to her absence. The first chill in the morning wind, the soft rustle of fading leaves, shadows lengthening across the fields. Every sound, every movement reminded him she had been here, that she had loved, that love had transformed them both. Villagers whispered as he returned among them, eyes haunted, shoulders bent with invisible weight. He did not speak. Mortals could not comprehend a goddess's touch. Instead, he wandered the fields, revisiting the lake, tracing sunlight's path where she had stood, letting memory and longing fill the void. They became companions, bold in echoes of her warmth, the taste of summer, the pulse of fire beneath his ribs no other mortal hand could ignite. Time pressed on, days passed,
sun climbing, then retreating, seasons shifting with unyielding rhythm. Each midsummer he felt her presence in the heat of wind, shimmer of fields, sudden warmth across his shoulders. It was never physical, never certain, but enough, a reminder she existed, that she had loved, that love had transformed them both. Legends formed around the lake, fields, and golden light of midsummer. Mothers told children of the goddess who wandered with the sun, who loved a mortal so fully the earth itself burned with passion. Travelers spoke of sudden warmth, shimmering gold in the wind, hearts forever changed. Each whisper carried the memory of that night when sun and flesh, divine and human, collided in fleeting eternity.
He never sought another love. Mortality felt pale beside what had been given and taken. Every glance at the horizon recalled the curve of her lips, fire of her hair, softness of her hand. Memory became both blessing and wound, carrying ache and illumination alike. The world bore witness. Nature itself reflected the impossible gift. When summer returned, golden and fierce, he felt her warmth again, a whisper, a flicker, a caress in the air. It was never enough to fill the gap, but a reminder of what had passed, proof that a mortal could be touched by eternity, if only fleetingly. Memory carried through seasons, shaping him, breaking him, illuminating him with impossible love that could neither remain nor fade entirely. The mortal lived with sorrow and grace, bearing the gift of divine love that burned brightly, leaving him altered forever. He knew every gust of warm wind, every shimmer of golden light, every whisper through grass was the echo of Ain's presence, proof that love, even fleeting, could be eternal in the pulse of the world. The lake remained sacred. Travelers paused there, sensing heat of a goddess gone but near, feeling the pulse of summer that refused to leave. On the longest days, when sunlight lingered on hills and wind carried the scent of wildflowers, he walked its edges, felt her again, a pulse in the air, a flicker in gold, warmth that was sorrow and blessing alike. Aine's departure had marked him, as all divine love does. He lived carrying sweetness and ache, learning the mortal heart could hold the brilliance of the sun only in memory. Through years and generations, the story of Aine and her mortal lover became legend, whispered each midsummer as warmth returned, a reminder that love, though fleeting, could become eternal in the pulse of the world. Thus the land remembers her. In the heat of midsummer, shimmer of golden fields, first breeze hinting at autumn. Her love is never gone, never held, existing as light in memory, a gift beautiful and impossible, the legacy of a goddess who loved enough to break the rhythm of seasons, and of a man who bore that love in his bones, blood, and golden ache of heart. The world holds memory like a river holds sunlight, fleeting yet impossible to forget. Every blade of grass, every ripple in a lake carries the echo of what has passed. Aine's love, though brief in mortal time, became more than a moment. It became a pulse woven into the fabric of the world. The warmth she left
was not merely heat upon the skin, but a fire within the soul, one that could never be extinguished. It lingered, subtle as breath, bright as dawn, and melancholic as evening's shadow. Love, Aine's gift and curse, is always dual. To hold it is to feel creation and loss in the same heartbeat. The mortal who loved her understood this deeply. Tenderness that inflamed him, joy of her touch, inseparable from the ache of absence. Every sensation that once burned with desire became memory, sacred and enduring. In her departure, he learned that longing is not weakness, but evidence of life fully experienced, proof that a human heart can touch eternity, even for a fleeting instant. Aine embodies this duality. She is sunlight and shadow, warmth and fleeting coolness, presence and absence. To love her is to embrace impermanence, to understand that every bright encounter carries dissolution. Yet in that knowledge lies beauty. Desire, even when temporary, leaves indelible marks. Every fleeting caress, every whispered word, every shared breath endures beyond seasons. She is a mirror, reflecting the mortal heart's contradictions, craving and fear, devotion and despair, hope and acceptance. The myth is not only about a goddess and a man, but the nature of passion itself. All who hear it feel longing, the heat of love that cannot remain, the subtle ache lingering after touch. Her story reminds us that ephemeral intensity can be eternal, that hearts carry the traces of what they cannot hold. Mortals may falter before the divine, yet their souls retain golden residue, fragments of light that pass through them. Every midsummer, when the air trembles with heat and wind carries wildflowers, her memory returns. Those who pause in fields, feel sunlight on skin, or hear the hush of leaves, sense her presence. It is not literal. She does not descend, she does not touch, but her essence endures, felt in heat that presses without forming shape, in light that warms without fire. She is everywhere and nowhere, a paradox as old as desire. The mortal understood that memory alone is enough. He felt her in sun, wind, and shimmering fields. Each pulse of warmth was a conversation across the distance separating human and divine. The ache of absence became pleasure, proof that love's intensity is measured not only by presence but by lingering echo. Each sigh of wind, each flicker of light, carried her voice, her touch, her fire.
Aine's love teaches that life is enriched by brief brilliance. The mortal heart yearns for permanence, yet permanence sharpens experience. Desire for what cannot remain burns with rare intensity, exposing fear, hope, and endurance. She teaches resilience through absence. Memory becomes a vessel for light, a channel for longing, a place where passion persists though the body cannot hold it. Creation and loss are inseparable. One cannot exist without the other. The mortal learned holding her was impossible, yet loving fully transformed him. Each heartbeat carried sunlight fragments, each breath recalled her warmth, and every horizon glance summoned the ache and illumination that defined their union. Aine persists in the pulse of the world,
Land remembers her. Golden fields, wind through grass, midsummer heat pressing on skin. The mortal recognized her in subtle signals, brush of warmth, glimmering water. Desire became a rhythm between human and cosmos, proof that the divine leaves marks without permanence. To reflect on her is to reflect on all passions that cannot last but remain eternal in memory. Her story mirrors human experience. Fleeting love, intense desire, moments of connection carry joy and sorrow, heat and shadow. Ain embodies the truth that longing is sacred, absence luminous, memory sustaining what reality cannot. In this way, the myth is timeless, a lens on cycles of emotion, duality of creation and loss, exquisite ache of desire. Her warmth is never gone. In quiet moments, beneath sunlight or dusk, presence lingers. Mortals feel her in pulses beneath the skin, flickers of light, sudden warmth. Desire becomes both burden and blessing. Eternal ache reminding the soul it has been alive, touched by what cannot remain. The mortal lives with sorrow and illumination. Memory becomes sanctuary where golden fire never fades. He understands impermanence can be more profound than endurance. Ain's love, brief and incandescent, transforms him, leaving him marked by intensity of feeling, teaching honor for beauty and longing alike. Carrying the echo of such passion is gift and trial, a reminder that the heart's capacity for love is measured by depth, not duration.
Thus the myth persists. Ain is more than goddess or lover. She is embodiment of desire, pulse of longing, proof fleeting brilliance imprints eternity. She reflects the paradox of human experience, joy paired with sorrow, heat entwined with shadow, mortal and divine intertwined. To remember her is to feel ache and ecstasy of love at its purest, most intoxicating form. Even as seasons turn and lifetimes pass, story survives in sensation, memory, and longing. Her love teaches beauty is sharpened by impermanence, passion heightened by absence, and the soul illuminated by what it cannot fully possess. Ache left behind is not emptiness, but transformation. Desire reshapes perception, deepens awareness, leaves heart capable of extraordinary tenderness. Ain becomes legend, not as history, but living pulse in imagination. Every golden afternoon, sudden warmth, shimmering light carries her essence. She is the gift of desire itself, fleeting, bright, unforgettable. The mortal and those who hear his story carry the lesson. The ache of love is inseparable from beauty, loss inseparable from creation, and even brief brilliance endures in memory. In quiet midsummer fields, when sunlight falls on golden grass and air is heavy with warmth,
one may feel her presence, subtle, almost imperceptible, yet unmistakable. Pulse beneath skin, flicker in vision, breath of heat that speaks of what was and continues to exist. Ain remains, absent and present, testament to impermanence and memory's eternity. The myth closes not with finality, but with enduring resonance of desire. Mortal carries her within, and through him she touches all who remember, all who long, all who understand love's power to transform, illuminate, and linger after departure. Warmth of fading sun, ache of remembered touch, beauty of moment too bright to last, all are Ain, eternal and fleeting, divine and mortal, fire and shadow, reflection of desire itself.